Hey guys, in this video I will be going over how to use the lattice multiplication method to solve multi-digit integer problems. Now the reason why this method is called the lattice method is because we use a lattice structure as a visual aid to help us solve multiplication problems. And a lattice is essentially just a crisscross grid with diagonals. But for our intents and purposes, it will be simple and look something like this depending on the two numbers we multiply. So the example problem we are going to solve is 579 times 827. This is also the same example problem I solved in another video I titled Long Multiplication Method, where the link is in the description. The first thing we have to figure out is how to construct our lattice. And this is dependent on two things: a grid and diagonal lines. So in order to construct our grid, we need to know the number of digits in both of the numbers that we're multiplying. In this case, we have two 3-digit numbers. So we have a corresponding 3x3 grid, where one of the numbers is placed on the top side and the other number is placed on the right side. We can also switch which side these numbers are on, and in this case, the orientation of the grid does not change. However, this is not always true for every problem. For example, if the problem we were solving was 79 times 827, where we are multiplying a 2-digit number by a 3-digit number, well then the corresponding grid we would get is a 2x3 grid, where the nomenclature is defined by width over length, and width is the shorter of the two. So if we switch both of these numbers around on the grid, we'll notice that the grid size stays the same, being a 2x3 grid, but the orientation changes by the grid being rotated in order to accommodate the change in the numbers. So back to our original problem. Now that we've established the grid we'll be using for multiplying these two numbers, we'll need to finish off the lattice structure by adding diagonal lines that'll extend from the top right corner to the bottom left corner of each box inside the grid. As you'll notice, at the end of each of these diagonal lines are the number places of our answer. At the bottom right side is the ones place, to the left of that is the tens place, the hundreds place, the thousands place, the 10,000s place, and the 100,000s place. So now we know that our answer could potentially be up to the 100,000s place or the 10,000s place. Now that we've completed the full lattice structure, we can finally dive into the lattice method. And the way I'm going to be organizing it is by going over the multiplication operations in each of the rows. So for the top row, we'll be multiplying 8 and 827 by each of the numbers in 579, so 5, 7, and 9. Then we'll be doing the same thing with the 2 and 827 and the 7 and 827. So the first operation we'll be performing in the first row is 8 times 9, which will give us 72. The 2 in the ones place will be kept in the bottom right half of our first box, and the 7 in the tens place will be kept in the top left half of our first box. The next multiplication step is then 8 times 7, which gives us 56, then 8 times 5, which gives us 40. Now down to the second row, 2 times 9 will give us 18, 2 times 7 gives us 14, 2 times 5 gives us 10, and down to the third row, 7 times 9 gives us 63, 7 times 7 is 49, and 7 times 5 is 35. So now that we've completely filled out the lattice, the next step is to add all the numbers along each of the diagonals to get our answer. So in the bottom right corner, 3 is just 3. For the next diagonal, 8 plus 6 is 14, plus 9 is 23. So we'll keep the 3 in the ones place, and we'll carry the 2 over to the next operation. So incorporating the 2 we just carried over, 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9, plus 4 is 13, plus 5 is 18. So we'll keep the 8 in the ones place and carry the 1 over. Now 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 6 is 14, plus 1 is 15, plus 3 is 18. Again, we'll keep the 8 in the ones place and carry the 1 over. 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And since this is a single digit, we don't need to carry any other numbers. And lastly, 4 is just 4. So our answer is 478,833. Now one of the things I didn't cover in the specific example that I want to go over is how to express a single digit answer in a lattice. So for example, 2 times 2. Well, we know 2 times 2 is 4, but how do we fill out both spaces in the lattice? Well, we add a 0 in the tens place, and by doing so, we still get the answer of 4. And this applies for all other single digit answers. Now for the behind the scenes. In order for us to understand how the lattice method works, we need to know the distributive property. And this is a property that allows us to multiply a sum where each addend of the sum is multiplied separately. So below, A is being distributed to a sum with addends B, C, D, and so on and so forth. The answer is obtained by adding quantity A times B plus quantity A times C plus quantity A times D, and so on. Now back to our original problem. What you'll notice is that we had 9 different boxes that corresponded to 9 different mathematical operations, hence the 3x3 grid. And each of these operations or boxes corresponded to a product that we added to get to our answer. So in this case, we had 9 different products. And we went about solving for each of these products by filling out the lattice along each of the 3 rows. So in the top row, we were distributing 800 and 827 to each of the addends in 579, so 570 and 9, to get our first 3 products. In the second row, we were distributing 20 and 827 to 579 to get our next 3 products. And then finally in the third row, we were distributing 7 to 579 to get our last 3 products. So going along the first row, the first operation we do is 8 times 9, which gives us 72. But because we know we're distributing 800 to 9, this isn't just 72 as it is in the lattice, but rather the 7 lines up with the thousandths place in our answer, and the 2 lines up with the hundredths place in our answer. So the first product we actually get is 7200. So for 8 times 7 we get 56 in the lattice, but the answer of our product is actually 56,000. And 8 times 5 gives us 40, or 400,000. Now for the second row, we're going to be distributing 20 to each of the addends in 579. So for 2 times 9 we get 18, or 180. For 2 times 7 we get 14, or 1400. And for 2 times 5 we get 10, or 10,000. Now finally for the third row, we're going to be distributing 7 to each of the addends in 579. So for 7 times 9 we get 63, which is just 63. And then 7 times 7, which is 49, or 490. And then for 7 times 5, we get 35, or 3500. So now that we've completed the lattice and calculated 9 corresponding products, the next step is to add these 9 products to get to our answer. And the way we did this via the lattice method was by adding all the numbers along each of the diagonals to get the answer in a certain numbers place. So correspondingly, we'll do the same thing along each of the numbers place of our products. So for the ones place, we'll add all the numbers along the ones place of each of our products, and in this case, it's just 3, where the 3 comes from the 63. Now moving on to the tens place, we add all the numbers along the tens place, which are 8 plus 6, which is 14, plus 9 is 23. We keep the 3 in the tens place and carry the 2 over to the hundreds place. Now for the hundreds place, we add 2 plus 2, which is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9, plus 4 is 13, plus 5 is 18. So we'll keep the 8 in the hundreds place and carry the 1 over to the thousands place. Now for the thousands place, 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 6 is 14, plus 1 is 15, plus 3 is 18. Again we get 18, we'll keep the 8 in the thousands place and carry the 1 over to the 10,000s place. Now for the 10,000s place, 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and we just get 7. And since this is a single digit, we don't need to carry any other numbers. Now finally for the 100,000ths place, we just get 4, and this gives us the same answer of 478,833. Hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching.